Hello, welcome to MCFC 9320 PUBcast. Good evening, Anne-Marie. Good evening, Riz. And good evening, Celebrity John.
Is it still evening?
Good evening.
Good evening, Andy.
Gosh, we should have all changed our clothes so it don't look like I don't mean feet in the bowl and that. I mean,
You're still recording, mate. You're still recording.
I'm just gonna move on. Right. We're going to do City's most underrated. City's most underrated players. I'm going to kick you off with one.
Have you got a list, John?
Andy. I am, yeah.
Which list? Page 2.
This is page 2. We know that you like page 3, John, but
yeah, I used to do, but the ones I used to look at, they're a bit old and haggard nowadays.
Speaking of that, Anne-Marie, how are you? Are you okay?
Oh.
No, it was just a link, wasn't it?
Of course it was, yeah. Just the link.
Anyway,
I hope you've not exposed you. I hope Anne-Marie Whittaker.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. So, yeah, underrated play. Oh, this chair keeps going down on me tonight.
Does the spike stick up when it goes down?
He's not got a seat on it.
It's an ejector seat.
Wonder why his face went red.
Jesus, we'll have to sort this seat out. Anyway, right. Do you want to mix it up between current players, older players, or
bit of both?
Anybody.
Go for it.
Mix it up. Richard Dunn, I think, was one of the most underrated players what has ever played for us.
Oh, what a finisher. He was.
Yeah, in the wrong end.
Yeah.
That's a different podcast later on, Riz.
All right. We'll move. I've not seen the memo.
He was totally underrated because how do you go for he wasn't underrated by the fans because he won Player of the Year 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was unheard of.
Underrated by the press, though.
This is not underrated necessarily by just City fans. I mean, as a whole, because you've got players like even I've not got him on the list. David Silva, who never got into a team of the year. So
absolutely,
everyone says what a great player.
I think City fans. There isn't an underrated. You know, we see it. We watch him week in, week out, so we know a decent player when we see one, and we know a bad one when we see one. So I think it's more of perceived what other people think is underrated because of what you just mentioned there, Andy. Is that they've never won a Ballon d'Or, or they've never been in a team of the season, or they've never got Player of the Year, or whatever. I think that's what we're probably more talking about, isn't it? Because I think we know what a good player is. Never underrated. So
Richard Dunn, he scored, I think, a record number of Premier League own goals and stuff like that.
Brilliant record, that. Records are a record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's never broken by another City player.
It was that will to win what he had. You know, he didn't take, and considering the reputation he came into us, you know, from Everton, being a bit of a pot, you know, a drinker.
Yes.
The way he settled down straight away at City, you know, coming from having a bad reputation to having a City career, what he did have, and it wasn't the same after he left City. So for me, he's probably one of the most underrated players by not I don't mean City fans, but
no.
He didn't get the recognition.
He gave 100% every time he played. There was never any question of his ability or his loyalty with the fans.
That's why he scored on goals, because he just wanted to get rid of that ball, clear his lines, and get it away. And sometimes it pinged off his head the wrong way, didn't it?
To Vincent Kompany, didn't it? A few times.
Yeah.
Way it goes.
Happens to them all. All top-class defenders score own goals.
Yeah.
The fact that they got their head or the shin on it in the first place, if they hadn't done it, it'd have been a goal anyway. Most times, most occasions.
One of the worst ones for me recently, is the one Vinny Kompany one against Liverpool. That was that hurt. That one.
Yeah.
That really, man. Then again, it put them on a high that they thought they were going to win the league, didn't they?
Yeah. What a shame, eh?
Yeah, we mustn't let it slip.
Yeah, that's the one.
Dipstick.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, Dunny was whatever's on the list there, or whatever you guys mentioned. He's got to be, one of the most underrated players, and what a nice guy as well he is. He's considering how aggressive and everything he was on the, on the
Very
pitch.
quiet fella, wasn't he? I met him out in the print works in Manchester once,
Ching,
and
ching.
really, no, honest, really, really nice bloke. He had time to speak to you, and wasn't one of those, like, oh, do you mind about when we make some having, and he wasn't that, and he was very quiet spoken as well. So yeah,
It's all right. Your missus met David Silver out and about.
Oh, I know.
You were gutted, weren't you?
Oh, don't talk about that. I'm still having counselling over that.
All
I go
right,
shopping with her all the time now. Whenever she goes out, I go with her because I don't know who she's going to meet.
I'll throw.
And I don't mean that in a possessive way. You know what I meant. I'm not misogynist.
I'm just gonna something me and you can't do, mate. I'm just gonna brush over that one. Let's have a recent one. I think one of the most underrated, and he's actually changed my mentality on it a little bit. Nathan Ake. I think he's
definitely
our best defender, and I reckon he's not getting the recognition from City fans as well. When we talk about underrated, as well as the people outside of the club.
I don't know. Most City fans I talk to class him really highly, and they say he's one of our best defenders, and he's our best header of the ball. And whenever you know the ball's coming across, you know he's going to get it. Whenever he's playing, nothing ever gets past him.
He's like a magnet.
He is.
Yeah, and if you read a lot of the comments in the group after a game, a lot of them are praising him when he plays, and I think I would completely agree that he's underrated. He had the opportunity to leave and didn't take it, and
which I'm glad about.
Which particularly at the start of the season, I've been very glad about.
Yeah.
He's made a big difference to us, and I think you could see that because he went off early in the Newcastle game, I think it was, and as shaky as we might have been in that game, we were twice as bad without him.
Absolutely. I totally agree. We all say it, don't we? You listen to certain City fans. I'll say it again. The fans I follow on Facebook and Twitter, all not because I just want people who agree with what I think. I listen to fans that are I listen to fans that are proper fans. We're proper fans. I'm not saying if you don't go to a game, you're not a proper fan. What I'm saying is that we go to matches.
Let's not go down that road.
No, we won't go down that. We've already been there this week. That was entertaining with Rocky and Marie. And any fans I follow on Twitter, if you follow the fanboys, they'll be saying they don't like Ake because they support Diaz. So they're Diaz because Ake's doing well. They say he's rubbish and he's this, he's that, he's the other. And it's only because they want their particular fanboy in that team. And if you listen to them kinds of fans, then Ake's proper underrated. But if you listen to the proper fans, as I call them, they're the ones who appreciate it. And he was a bit ropey to start with, but he's settling into a different setup, different club, different everything.
Yeah.
And he's a Rolls Royce. He's class.
Yeah, he is.
He very rarely puts a foot wrong. Very, very rarely. So we've got to be careful when we say if you listen to a lot of City fans, they slag them off and stuff like that. For me, they're not the proper fans. I have
never spoken to anybody who slagged him off. I've seen people on Twitter and things like that, but I've never actually spoken to anybody.
And that's because they're match-going fans who see him properly, not just clips on YouTube and bits of things. And you get so like 20,000 people who follow somebody called Diaz SZN, and all he is a Diaz fanboy, and they don't like him because he's keeping their star player out. So
do you remember?
Yeah, but their star player isn't setting the world alight this season.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
Can I just say, I started off with the Nathan Ake by my own admission when I said at first he wasn't my own cup of tea because I didn't think. But some people, when they've set their mind on somebody, they're not prepared.
You won't be proven wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong, mate. What's that?
Put your hand up again. Stop putting your...
What was that then?
He's got hand gestures switched on.
Did you see
that?
When you put your hand up like that, it recognises your hand going up and it puts a hand up.
Seriously?
If you've got it switched on, that is.
I'd be a good ventriloquist, wouldn't I? There you go.
Put your hand up again.
Sorry?
Put your hand up again.
Mine ain't working.
Put your hand up. No, so the screen can see it. No, put it there. That's the one.
Oh, just let's carry on. Here's one for you.
Now, listen, we do technology on here as well. We don't just do football. We do hair. We do beauty products. And now John's giving us a lesson on hand gestures.
Hand gestures, yeah. It's like tomorrow's world, isn't it?
Tomorrow.
It is. But today. Tomorrow's world today.
I tell you what still annoys me to this day. How much I think he's underrated. You might have other ideas. Richard Edgill, the rubbish he used to get. I really think it still knocks me to this day. The amount of rubbish Edgy got in the playoff final. He was, Dickoff gets all the plaudits and stuff like that because he scored the goal. Yeah,
but he also missed his loads. And if he'd have scored all the goals in the season, we wouldn't have been in the playoffs.
He missed the penalty, and Edgy took the best penalty in the playoff final. And he
never gets a mention.
No, and I really feel sorry that Edgy was treated the way he was by a big section of the City fans. I must add,
scapegoat. I think wasn't it? I think's the word. And I think that's what every team in the past, if you like, because we're winning stuff now, so it's different times. But when you're not winning stuff, you need an excuse for it. And he was the captain at the time and all the rest of it. And I think he was a big scapegoat to a lot of fans. He was an easy target as well, wasn't he? So
yeah, it's a bit like Mahrez with them.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up.
Definitely scapegoat.
Could you not put Mahrez down as a underrated player?
No.
No, I'd say average. He's not overrated. He's not underrated. He's just a player.
Okay.
Yeah, he performs to my expectations. I think that is what I'm trying to say.
He can have a good day. He can have a bad day.
It's not
more bad days than good days, but
it's not the first time Riz has been accused of underperforming and he has bad days.
You'll be speaking to the missus again, haven't you?
Yeah, all I'm going to say.
Word.
He met her in Manchester.
Yeah, in Costa Coffee, no doubt.
Yeah.
Don't get me going.
Rodri.
I don't think he's underrated anymore.
No.
He was. But people are actually seeing the player he is now.
Bit like Nathan Ake in that kind of bracket.
Yeah.
I think he was underrated as well because we had Fernandinho, and I think Fernandinho was class. So when he came in, I think he had a lot to live up to, and I think he didn't perform as well as he could. But now Fernandinho's left. I think he's performing to his potential now.
I still don't think he's as good as Fernandinho in his prime.
No, not yet. Anyway, he's only.
No. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned Fernandinho because he's actually on my list because I think he was so underrated.
Yeah, not by City fans, by everybody else, yes, but not by City fans. We all knew what he could do.
he didn't get any plaudits while he played for us. But then when he'd left, they all seemed to be sort of saying, "Oh yeah, Fernandinho this, Fernandinho that." Oh yeah, he was awesome. And so it seemed to be while he was playing, for us, he didn't really get the plaudits. That might be a topic for another podcast. But
in the Premier League, I think he's the most successful Brazilian since you had a Turkish parlour.
Where's the yeah, okay.
Marie nearly saw my Brazilian the other week when I forgot I didn't have the shorts on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've not been to the Turkish barbers, and it looked more like Don King.
Don what?
Don King.
Oh my Lord! I'm quickly going to move on to Sammy
To who?
Nasri.
Sammy and Nasri.
I like Nasri, I must admit.
I did.
Listen, just let me say, before anyone says that, just let me say this. Just let me remind you of something. He had a so-called bad boy reputation, this, that, and the other. A lot was said about him. When he was at City, he did not cause us 1 ounce of trouble.
No, he didn't.
Heard about.
Oh, Anne-Marie, have you got some insider information?
I'm not saying it's insider information. I think that he was probably very vocal in the dressing room about certain things.
Thought you might have had some pillow talk there or something, maybe.
No,
that's only hearsay. I'm only going on what he did for us on the playing side of things.
Yeah, because he was.
He was a good player.
He was class.
Yeah,
he was quality.
But he did get outshone at times by David Silva.
Who wouldn't though?
Yeah, exactly.
So
no, he was class.
If we didn't have David Silva at the time, then maybe he probably would have been our best midfielder.
He was
Would
class.
you go along with that, Anne-Marie?
I'm not quite sure that I would, but I always think back to the Aguero moment, and when QPR scored their second goal, and you can see Mancini reacting on the touchline, and you can quite clearly see what he's saying, and it was directed at Nasri because he hadn't tracked back with his man. So,
and he never really did track back, though, did he? That's one thing. That was one part to his game that he never really did that much of.
But he was still class for me.
Yeah, he was class.
Fine.
He was attacking midfielder, and that's what he did. He's not a defending midfielder.
No.
Let's bring it up, bang up to date. I think Gundogan's so underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not by City fans, but definitely out of the club. I think he's so.
Well,
underrated.
you talk to anybody else who supports another team, and you say about Gundogan, and they go, "Who? Who?"
Yeah, totally.
Anne-Marie.
But yeah.
No, I would agree. I think I'd be concerned because he's in the last year of his contract, and I'm not convinced we'll renew it. But yeah, he's definitely underrated. He's got such a football in mind. If he had a bit more pace, it'd be unreal. But he is, I mean, he's surprised me with what he's been able to do at City.
He could be a future City manager.
I've just sort of reminded myself of something. I was told last night, which I disagreed with, that Gundogan in January will be going to Borussia Dortmund back there, and in January Jude Bellingham will be joining City. I actually said, well, I won't tell you the exact words. I'll put it. I went, if that happens, I will cycle naked to Blackpool.
Without
I said,
a saddle.
I'm not saying standard. I'm not saying that won't happen, but definitely not in January.
No, I
How
can't
old
see
is
it in
Jude
January.
Bellingham now? How old is he?
He's 12.
33.
So yeah, that's what you, Timmy. If you're watching, I'll still stand by what I said.
What, Timmy Mallet?
Oh, yeah.
Timmy Mallet watched his show.
Timmy Mallet. Although I'm sober now, I still stand by what I said. I've just remembered what I said.
What did you say?
That I'd cycle to Blackpool naked.
Did you say that to him as well?
Yeah.
All right, nothing else then.
Hey.
I can't see you saying that. I think you'd have said something more than that when you were drunk.
Yeah, them.
I can't really say on for the viewing, but it was round about that, John. It really was.
Right. Okay.
And I think I had the same conversation with my mate as well when he said England will win the World Cup, and I said exactly. If that happens, I will cycle to Blackpool. I just like cycling.
Anyway,
it's like naked.
Underrated players. I think there's one player that underrated himself.
Pablo Zabaleta.
Mario Balotelli.
Yeah.
He could have been an absolute superstar.
Great shout, John.
Yeah.
He could have been. And I used to watch him play. And his ability to do that when he actually wanted to do it, his ability was amazing.
Yeah.
And we never saw the best of him.
No, we didn't.
He never
played. He played at it.
He never gave 100%.
No.
You know what he reminded me of? He reminded me of a guy and a man playing in a kids' game of football.
Yeah.
And when he decided he wanted to just finish the game, he just put his foot down, took control of the game, scored the goals, and then it was done. Right, can we go now? It was that kind of thing. We finished playing here, right? Let's get off.
Yeah,
and that's the attitude that he seemed to have. And
he never really celebrated his goals because, as far as he was concerned, that's what he was there to do.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
I'd love his penalty taking now. That'd be.
Oh,
I could relax when we got I could celebrate when we get a penalty.
I'm live to Anne-Marie here. She's pulling her face a little bit.
Well, I just go back to it was pre-season, and I think we were playing in America.
The back heel.
And the back heel, and to me, that shows disrespect to the opposition.
But that was his attitude all over.
I know,
it's a pre-season. He's thinking,
it doesn't make him an underrated player.
No, but that's what I mean. He underrated himself.
That was actually offside, by the way. That. No, it was. He got blown for offside.
Did it?
I know. It was still there. Go back to, I think it was Norwich where he shouldered one in on the line.
Yeah.
He was. That you either, it's Marmite, you either love him or hate him. I just think
it could be another podcast, players that didn't reach the full potential who had the skill.
Yeah.
I
did love Mario Balotelli.
Yeah, I agree, John.
I loved him. And I agree on that front, that you never knew what you were going to get. And, you look back to like the 6-1 and he scored the first goal, pulled his shirt up and he's got why always me on his T-shirt.
Yeah.
I just don't...
Do you remember the story on that Les Chapman told us when Les came on the show? The night before, his mate set fireworks off in his bathroom or something and burnt his bathroom down. So it was something like that.
That was Mario all over, though, weren't it? That's what he did.
He was a man-child, wasn't he? He was a big baby, and he was just like being mischievous and messing about. And he was brilliant at football.
Yeah,
but he couldn't be serious.
Semi-final of the FA Cup at Wembley, where he was rattling Ferdinand and all that. He just like whatever.
Wound them all up and then walked away, thinking like, "What's up with him?"
Left them all fine. But great shout that, John. Let's not just do the players what I've jotted down here. Let's do whatever. One of the most underrated players for me is Zaba.
Yeah, but like you say again, not by City fans.
And I don't see him as being an underrated player, because I think even the fact that you've got him even now week in week out they sing for him.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't make him an underrated player, in my opinion.
He played
what he was capable of.
Not by
he played for Argentina, didn't he? You know, so it's not like he was underrated and overlooked by everybody. I think that's a bad shout, Andy.
I'll give you a one.
It's not always about underrated by City fans.
No, I didn't think any of it was underrated by City fans. Like I said earlier, I think it's all City fans know the they know the stuff, and we don't underrate a decent player. I think we're talking about the media and the other fans of other clubs.
Yeah.
And I think even Zabaleta was respected by other fans because of his attitude. When he went to West Ham and stuff, he was respected.
Yeah, he was loved there, wasn't he?
And other clubs, I think, respected him as well. He was one of them players that he wasn't a horrible man. He was a fantastic player and an amazing warrior on the pitch.
Someone madder than Yaps
and conducted himself off the field just as well. So I think fans aren't stupid.
He was a proper
from
man
all
as
clubs.
well.
Yeah, from all other clubs, fans aren't stupid. Some are just partisan and they don't like admitting stuff. But with somebody like Zabaleta, I think every fan from other clubs respected what he did.
Yeah, they all wanted a Zabaleta in their team, didn't they?
Absolutely, and you couldn't not like him.
No. One player I would say was underrated, Nigel de Jong.
He's on my list.
He's on your list, is he?
100%.
He could change a game so easily.
Was you there when he scored his one and only goal?
Yes, I was.
He was quality, wasn't he? He's everything you wanted from your player, wasn't he?
Yeah.
100% every game.
And he still carries that affection for City now as well.
He does.
You know, he's always flying over. He was at the 93-20 do as well. He was somebody when the chips were down, somebody who give 100%, and he dragged you up by your bootlaces.
Thing is, though, when De Jong came on, and he'd fly into a tackle, and the whole stadium would just erupt. It was like he scored a goal.
When De Jong is sliding in.
Yeah.
Got a song about it, haven't we?
Oh, yes.
And you're right, John, because, you know, when it's not a very, very good game and you need something to happen somewhere, it's not always a goal what changes a game. It's a crunchy tackle.
He lit the touch paper, didn't he?
Yeah.
You could have a game where it was just not really going anywhere, and all of a sudden De Jong would come sliding in, wipe somebody out, fair, clean tackle, just hard. The opposition would get riled, their heads would start going, and the next thing you know, the game's turned on its head, and we're winning 3-0. It was that kind of player.
He'd get a lot of bookings in this era of the Premier League now, wouldn't it? Because it's all gone too soft.
Well, do you remember that game at Wembley against United? I think it was. Who was it that ended up with sticking a boot in his chest?
Oh, Rooney.
No, it weren't Rooney.
Is it not?
No, it was Ginger, I think.
Oh, Scholes.
Scholes. Yeah, stuck his boot right into De Jong's chest and got sent off, didn't he?
That's right.
No, that was Zabba. He stuck his.
Yeah, that was in Zabba.
Was it Zabba?
John just likes mentioning United.
I know.
I'm sure it was De Jong.
No,
it was
Zabba.
definitely Zabba.
Definitely Zabaleta.
Yeah. Unless it was De Jong that stuck a boot in somebody else, probably.
Oh, he did. That was in the World Cup, that.
Yeah, that was in the World Cup. All right, that's what I'm getting mixed up.
Let's have a blast from the past. Although I wasn't old enough to ever see him play or anything, Gary Flitcroft.
No, I'm too young for that.
I can't. Yeah, I'm a little bit younger than John. And
I'm younger than the lot of you, and
No, you're not.
I am.
Good job we're not saying who looks the oldest then, isn't it?
Yeah. That won't be fair, that won't be fair on the lady.
No, I think
was he underrated? I don't know whether he was or not. I mean, he's like Steve Redmond, and there was a few out of that era, wasn't there, that you could we probably thought they were better than they were, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it was that era of City when, you had to be half decent, and we loved it. And again, it sounds like I'm being disrespectful. It's just a different era, and I don't know whether he was underrated by City fans. I don't know. I can't answer that one.
We loved a player that showed commitment and basically played his heart on his sleeve, and we would never underrate a player like that.
Yeah.
We loved it like that. We loved somebody that put on that blue shirt and fight for the team.
Yeah. I've got one for you, and I don't necessarily say he's underrated, but I think undervalued was the Gareth Barry.
Yeah, I was going to say Gareth. Yep.
He's on my list.
He's on your list. Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't think he was, because he was valued by other fans because he played at other clubs before us. So I think everybody knew what he was capable of, but I don't think certain people realised what he did in the team until he wasn't there, kind of thing. And that might be a different podcast. I don't know, but he was. I think he's more undervalued than underrated.
Yeah.
Would you put then, who's also here, when you're on about, if a certain player plays for you, you rate him, but until a player's played for you, it can be underrated. I'd put Craig Bellamy in that bracket.
You've read my mind.
Yeah.
You've read my mind. I was thinking that earlier, and as you started talking, then Craig Bellamy. He's one of them players that I've said this before, that when he played against you, you hated him.
Mm-hmm.
But when he played for you, you absolutely loved him.
Did you hear the story about when Mark Hughes was manager and he brought it was just before the takeover happened? Mark Hughes actually loaned City the money to buy Craig Bellamy because he wanted Bellamy that much. So,
Mark Hughes out of his own back pocket?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, lent him the money.
Yeah.
It's gone up in my estimation.
Because he wanted Bellamy that much. And he
wanted Rocky Santa Cruz as well, so that doesn't say much.
Yeah, there was something funny there, wasn't there? That was an obsession. I think that was something. I don't know what was going on with that.
I think it was just his name. He wanted to sound, make it like some foreign team.
You looked so angry there when he said.
Well, that was just beyond me. Why we ever brought him to the club?
But he had a good name.
But they wanted to bring him so desperately. They were like, any opportunity they could get, they were bending over backwards to get him, weren't they?
Well, like when Koppel had, what did I Kimmel?
And that was slightly different.
All right. Okay. Swiftly moving on. David White.
I don't think he was underrated.
No.
By other fans.
No.
Well, back then it was little old City, weren't it? So everybody thought our players were underrated.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point of what I'm trying to make.
We may as well just name every one off then, aren't you?
I think there's a period of your sort of your history of your club where it's too far ago so you can't 100% remember it. And then there's other parts of your history where we weren't that good. Yeah. So our standards,
we rated them.
We rated them, but our standards were a lot lower than they are now. And again, this is no disrespect. This is just, this is how I feel anyway. So, you've got to be looking in the last sort of, most of these players will be from the last 10 years because we've kind of, this is where recent times with all the players we sign are good. So, you can only be underrated if you're any good, can't you? Does that make sense?
Going back,
thinking in subtitles now.
Well, going back to further on, you could actually say Paul Lake.
No,
he was underrated by everybody else, but
I don't think because they always said he was going to be a future England captain.
And you listen to pundits talk, and Paul Lake always gets mentioned and brought up.
He was up there.
I think he didn't reach his full potential because of injury, and
no, he didn't.
That's really unfortunate.
And to me, that's down to the club undervaluing him.
Well,
that was down to the club having no money.
And
money for physios, isn't it? And
Yeah.
And let's not forget, a number of clubs, including United, Spurs, were actually in for Paul Lake as well.
yeah,
So I don't agree with the Paul Lake one.
no. But I'm glad you brought him up, though, John. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
It's okay. I'll see you later then.
Maria, I'll let you start with this one, and this I've put this one in because I'm really intrigued about this one. Edin Dzeko.
Mahrez.
Edin Dzeko.
Oh,
What is it with you, Andy? You love Edin Dzeko, don't you?
I do. I love Edin Dzeko.
was he underrated? I don't think so.
Overrated.
I think I'd be more inclined to say overrated.
3 against 1, Andy.
Hang on, I've not voted yet.
I know.
I can see in his face. I can see in your face, Paul.
I don't think he's underrated. I think he was rated at his level. I think we appreciated him because of the goals he scored. He missed loads.
Yeah.
He was another Raheem Sterling in a way. Obviously a different player, but that kind of he scored loads of goals. But if it had been top dollar, he would have scored a lot more.
So do you think, even by City fans, he was a little bit overrated?
No, I think he was.
John's nodding there. Okay, John, why is Edin Dzeko's name sung every single City match?
Because it's a song. It's a song that we had at the time, and people loved him.
With any new ones?
But apart from that, but people loved him because he was a City player. But I know a lot of people that said they called him like he needed 10 chances to score every game, which he did. He missed so many chances.
So did Aguero.
Not compared to Dzeko. Come on.
And I think at times Dzeko could be lazy.
He was one of them
lazy,
frustrating players.
Yes,
lazy,
and you knew within the first 10 minutes of a game
what you're going to get,
performance you were going to get out of him. So for me, no, he wasn't underrated. If anything, we overrated.
Yeah, I used to sort of say, I used to sort of say that, like you just said, Anne-Marie, with a couple of minutes into the game, he'd miss a couple of chances, and I turned to the lads around me and go, might as well bring him off now.
Yeah,
you're going to get out of him.
Yeah,
you just knew. He just knew that it was one of them days. And, I don't think he was overrated. I don't think he was underrated. I think we just accepted him for what he was. He got us some important goals when we needed him. And, and I think we should just, we do respect the input he had and the input he had in the certain games he played in. But I wouldn't say class him as underrated. More edge into the overrated.
Yeah.
Rose tinted glasses sometimes, maybe.
Okay then, and that's why I put Dzeko in there, because I had a feeling it'd be a bit of a. But I that's what opinions are like. Backsides. Everybody's got one.
Some have two.
We're going to finish on this one, and this is another interesting one. Raheem Sterling.
Overrated.
Why?
Yeah.
Right, hang on. Overrated. How can he be overrated with his goal scoring and assist record for us?
Because of the amount of chances he had, it should be double.
So did Aguero.
Yeah,
not to the same extent, Andy.
Not to the way we are now. Aguero he's been with us for 10 years, Aguero. It's only the last, probably few years that we've actually become that good and create so many chances.
I just think Sterling is underrated. I think a lot of people either tend to ignore on purpose or don't realise his actual goals he scored for us as well. Excuse me, as well as his assists.
Look, he's at Chelsea now. He's not getting anywhere near the chances he got at City, and look what he's doing. Nothing.
But I'll go back to it again. look at his goal scoring record for City and his assists. You can
Yeah.
do what's in front of you. Yeah, he will always be remembered of how many misses and stuff like that. I can see that.
No, the only thing I'll remember him for is throwing himself on the floor in front of goal, and like a petulant child. That's what I'll remember him for mainly.
But I bet most of the times he did that, you was calling for a penalty.
No, he missed an open net, put it over the bar, and then threw himself on the floor. Nobody round him.
Against Leon.
Yeah.
Sterling's a real Marmite one, isn't he?
Yes, definitely.
He's one of them that. Well, I don't care what anybody says. You have tinted glasses onto your team, and we all do it. We all sort of like say, "Oh, that's a penalty. That's a penalty." If you were the opposition, you'd be disgusted if you got a penalty for that. So, albeit I admire what he did for us. He scored, goals and all the rest of it. But he was the most frustrating player I've ever seen at City, I think.
Yeah.
He missed loads of easy chances, but then went and scored some really difficult ones. And that's what made it worse, I think. I mean, Sean Goto, we always look back at him fondly and stuff. And he used to shin him in, stick him on the end of his nose, and there was also he went in the back of the net, but he wasn't.
Can I just say about that person you just said? We can't mention his name unless he gets money for it.
All right, yeah, Sean, yeah, Mr. G, as I like to call him. Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
No, you are right. I just think if his goal, I think his record for City speaks for itself, really. He's not going to score as many at Chelsea, which you quite rightly said, because of the way Chelsea play, and they've not got as quality players as City have got. But yeah, you are right. He is Marmite, even when he played for us. But also, what's been a bit of an eye opener for me as well is a different player, Gabriel Jesus. The amount of times he throws himself on the floor for Arsenal. Yeah, he's changed their mentality and all that. He's helped change the mentality at Arsenal. But I don't remember him falling to the floor that many times.
No, he did.
But that comes down to the blue tinted glasses again, doesn't it?
Of course, it's the blue tinted glasses. But you look at the way he started at Arsenal, very much similar to the way he started at City, and now where is he? He's not scoring the goals, is he?
No, he's not.
That would always have been my argument with him. I never classed him as an out-and-out striker because he didn't score enough goals, and I think Arsenal are seeing that now. But going back to Sterling, definitely, I don't think he was underrated at all at City. I don't think by anybody else he was underrated, because he was, you can nearly say, next to Kane, he'd always be one of the first names on the team sheet for England. And again, I think the one thing that's dragged him through all of this is the fact that he's been half decent for England. But again, you watch him, and he got a penalty in the Euros, and he's literally throwing himself to the floor. And it's just, that doesn't sit well either.
I do. I think he was certainly definitely not underrated, and I think I won't say he was overrated, but we overlooked a lot of stuff. Whereas, if he was playing in a Liverpool team and being like he was, I wouldn't have rated him as highly as I did, because he was in a City team, and that's me tinted glasses. Yes, he scored goals.
Because of the way
we just talk about that. We just talk about how many goals he scored and his assists or whatever. Yeah, but you've got to talk about the ones he didn't score as well, and it all comes into it.
He never turned up at a game against Liverpool. He very rarely turned up in a derby.
Yeah, big games. So big games. Yeah, he banged in goals against the minnows, but when it came to the big games, he disappeared.
Okay, then are you three forgetting that he's actually a winger?
Doesn't matter.
No, he's a striker.
He's not. For us, he was predominantly a winger.
No, he was. But as far as he's concerned, he's a striker. So if he's a striker, he should be scoring goals.
So why was he out on the left?
Yeah, well, that's
because that's what he wanted.
Andy, what position does Messi play?
Not talking about Messi. He's not played for City.
Doesn't matter. He's a winger.
So
in that setup,
okay,
at City, the players interchanged and they were all over, weren't they?
Okay, then under Pep Guardiola, the 3 highest scorers per games: Messi, Aguero, Sterling.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they're in teams that create.
Soon it'll be Messi, Aguero, Haaland.
Who knows?
It will be. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing's guaranteed in football.
Just a pity Santa Cruz wasn't around when Pep was there, because if he had been, it could have been Santa Cruz, Messi, Haaland.
Would have been very messy, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you think of anybody else before we go? Because I didn't want to bring Joe Hart into it.
No, don't bother bringing Joe Hart into it.
For God's sake.
In what, underrated?
By the way, have you seen the responses for the goalkeeping one we've done? There was a lot of support for Mr. Joe Hart.
Yeah, of course there
might
will
well have been, but as I told you after the podcast, I went and spoke to my dad, who's been going to City since '59, and he said the best keeper City have ever had was Bert Troutman. So I take somebody who's been going that long, I take his word for it over yours, Andy, I'm afraid.
I unfortunately I missed the podcast for that particular one.
Yes,
I would have gone. I've not seen Bert Trautmann play.
You've not got to say it. He wasn't there.
No, I know, but I'm just telling you now because I wasn't there. My late father agreed with Anne Marie's dad. There you go. That's my late father's spirit, knocking you off your chair because of all the nonsense. Derek Akora, thank you. No, my dad would always talks about Bert Trautmann and how class he was, and he saw them all play up to sort of Edison, and he'd seen them all, and he said Trautmann as well. I'd have gone Joe Corrigan myself because that's kind of the year I started watching City in, and I just remember how immense he was and how brave he was, and very no nonsense. He could kick as far right on the end of the pitch. He could throw it out far. Again, it's my memory. It's me happy days. So I remember Joe Corrigan. He's happy just days. No nonsense.
Happy days.
That's Chachi.
He thinks it's the Fonz, doesn't he?
Hey. But no,
Sunday, Monday.
I think if you've got to take a whole package, it's really difficult, isn't it, to sort of say, because it depends. It's like we had David Seaman play for us, didn't we?
We've done,
but it was bobbins.
I know,
but I'm just telling because I weren't there, so I'm telling you my bit now. And David Seaman was absolutely bobbins for us. But
Andy, don't start the jokes again.
When he played for Arsenal, he had a great defence in front of him. So a keeper sometimes is as good as what's in front of him and his midfield protection and stuff like that. So you've got to take all that into account.
That's why Andy thinks Joe Hart's so good, because he had that back four in front of him.
No, Riz, like you're quite right about Seaman. We said last week we think Seaman stained his reputation when he was at Sir.
Oh, God, he's off again.
I think on that note, we better go, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can stay. You better get off, mate. You message you. Nurse.
As always, thanks for joining us. It's always great fun, and we always get through. We go off East and stuff like that, but I think that's what it's all about, innit?
Yeah.
Also, thank you very much to our 3 brilliant sponsors: 3 Retro, Prestige Car Repairs, and the brilliant Aquagas.
Thank you.
Thank you as always. Have a wonderful week.
Have a great week and all stay safe, won't you?
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
As they say on Hill Street Blues, be careful out there. Bye bye.